Hey everyone, this is Ryan B with Practical Forex Trading. This is your weekly analysis for Euro Dollar. The date is January 26, 2020. So just to get started here, I just wanted to show this downtrend that's been going since early 2018. And that's what my strategy analysis is based off of, is this multi-year downtrend. But to look at, let's go ahead and get closer at the 4 hour. So as far as chart time frames go, 4 hours kind of like a mini daily, if you will. You really want to use the weekly and daily to make your long-term analysis, but the 4 hour does a pretty good job of making it a bit more granular. So if we look, you can see my sentiment is bearish, right? That's been the sentiment here for a bit. And we see our weekly pivot points mapped out. So last week we saw price fall out of this descending triangle here, right? So when we looked at that 2-year trend line, what we noticed was that there was several peaks that touched this descending trend line. Recently, price went above it, then was pushed back below. So really, when you're thinking about support and resistance, note this line here around the 1150 mark, the buck 1150. Every time price would come above it, it would get pushed back down, usually pretty quickly. And what's interesting, it doesn't stop right at the line, but it kind of roughly scribbles over it. So there was multiple opportunities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right there, even before this bigger peak. All these 8 attempts you could have sold from, and made money on the way down. But it looks like we finally got a break out of that zone, which looks to clear the way. So for price returning to about $1.0991. So about this $1.10 mark is the next target. So a couple things might happen when the market opens this week. One, you'll see price kind of cool out and retrace. It might visit this pivot. If there's maybe like a market event news, it would come up and pop up and hit the R1, but then you're really looking for that opportunity to sell again, right? So any visit back to this green trend line or the horizontal support and resistance that supports that, that's a good sell. What might happen though, since there was so much selling last week, we might see actually price go down to S1 first and see how that $1.0991, see that line? That's pretty historically relevant too. Price stalled above and below it several times on the way up, which means it's going to revisit in the way down. So I think what we might see is, let's go ahead and put our first stop. This price will stop around here. Then we could see our second, let's say in this area somewhere. And then it would be pushed back down. So we might see actually is that price will range trade here for a bit. Like it could sell down even harder into this 0956. Interesting though that weekly support 1 and 2 are so close to each other. Tells me this is pretty significant. So we might see price bounce around in here for a bit. And what you might see is that price will dip below this line. And just when you think it's going to continue to S2, it actually works its way back up and then goes back up higher before descending again. So I'm bearish in this. I was selling euro last week, but I cashed out on Friday, as I typically do, because you never know what's going to happen over the weekend. And if you've been trading all week, maybe your endurance is a little bit down. So I like to start fresh. So I might wait this week, is see how price reacts, wait for another opportunity to sell around the 1050 to 1080 mark, and take my target down to S1, which is the $1.10. Let's go ahead and add our moving averages. So if you've watched any of these videos before, you know that I use 3 moving averages, the 20, the 15, the 200. And you never want to use indicators to be the sole reason that you made a trade. You really want to use indicators as your supporting evidence. Make this a different color. Okay. I had to let my cat inside. Okay. And now let's add our 200. So that's what we call our long, our slow moving average. All right, great. So now when we think about uptrends and downtrends, there's a certain pattern we want to see when we use three moving averages. So in a downtrend, we want to see our fast on the bottom, we want to see our medium on the middle, and our slow or long on the top. And that's exactly what's just happened with the euro on the 4-hour chart. And now these averages are starting to expand. So another good way to look for an entry point is if we see price come back towards this fast moving average, kind of start to recoil and retrace, but these averages still continue to fan out, that's a real good sign. That means even though there's a little bit of an upswing, the downtrend's in full play, and we should be looking for opportunities to sell, right? We're going to look for rallies to sell. Now, the other thing I like to use is what's called a parallel trend line. And I like to think of parallel trend lines as support and resistance over time. And as you can see, if we do that, so we replicate the trend angle from this green line. And what we see is these other peaks stopped at this line. Historically, price has kind of bounced above and below it. Right, so it's kind of rough. It's not too exact, but we can see price really acted like support and resistance along this line. And there we go. So that trend channel we see coincides with this quick, fast-moving average and the pivot point. So as price goes into Sunday, Monday, I'll be looking for a return to this line for a sell. If we see price break out above this, back into this descending channel, then I'll be looking for a sell at the 1089 line. What would reverse and make my sentiment bullish is that we have to see price rocket above this R2 1152. If that happened at this point, then my sentiment would be bullish. But for now, I'm a bear, selling euros. US dollar going strong at 2020. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date on all of our Euro US dollar videos, make sure you click subscribe on the bottom right hand button of your screen. Thanks. Have a great week trading. Talk soon.